It is 6 p.m., so we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order, please. Roll call, Jane.
Mayor Grant.
Here.
Dean.
Here.
Gaston. Here. Cron.
Yes.
Attorney Edmund.
Please join me in taking a moment of silence. Thank you. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You've got lots more seats up front if you're brave.
I had to sit in front when I
Number
was in
4,
school.
a copy of the open meetings act is posted on the wall inside the entryway of the Crawford Public Library. It is also available in pamphlet form at City Hall, and if you follow the link within this agenda. Tonight's consent agenda is 3 items: excusing the absence of Mayor Grant from the August 19th, 2026 budget workshop and the August 20th, 2026 emergency meeting. B, approve the minutes from the August 11th, 2026 regular meeting, August 12th, 2026 budget workshop, August 19th, 2026 budget workshop, and August 20th, 2026 emergency meeting. And finally, approve hire of Tamara Garvin as temporary part-time librarian at $15 per hour, starting September 1st, 2026. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
For the library bid one, should say library aid rather than librarian, just to be very specific about that.
Oh, sure. I appreciate that. Thank you. So we'll just make that Tamara Garvin as temporary part-time librarian or library aide.
Thank you very much.
You bet. Thank you for that.
So
Motion by Fromm. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Gaston. Roll call.
Fromm.
yes.
Gaston.
Yes. Steve.
Yes.
Thank you. We'll move to reports. Report from hospital.
Not till Monday night.
Thank you. And along with hospital, NNDC has their upcoming meeting, I think in September is our next one, towards the end of the month. So we really haven't had anything going on since then. Ponderosa Villa.
We just had a meeting. I forgot my notes. Like a crazy idiot, so.
Over here.
Yeah. Where you at, Aileen?
I didn't bring my notes.
Okay. I
I
don't
know
have
they're
anything to
gonna
report,
log
I
out
guess,
with
right now.
motions.
What's that?
We finally got a lot of that in.
Yep, and then we'll have, you guys got the, not the agenda, yeah,
That's all.
sorry, coming up.
Awesome. Okay. We'll leave you with that.
I'm sorry,
That's all right. We'll move on to Swan.
no meeting this month.
Well, reports for some. No meeting this month. All right, we will move on to ordinances and resolutions. Number 7, presentation by Doug Christensen, and this is to review the vacancy property registration process. This is something that we've approved and have gotten started on. We've done all of the beginning paperwork on, and we've got our list generated, and we're getting ready to get started. So,
Yeah, well,
bring us up to speed.
yeah, thank you guys for having me. My name is Doug Christensen with Fire and Rural Planning out of Kearney. It's a long drive, but it's a nice drive out here. Like you said, we've contracted with the city of Crawford already to be your vacant property registry administrator, and so we've helped you guys, by formulating this ordinance. And a lot of that was done by our attorney, out of York, Nebraska. Drew Graham was available a lot. I believe you guys also have agreed to have him, do a lot of the vacant property legal work, as well. So, my purpose in coming here was, threefold. So So first of all, I wanted to meet you guys, introduce myself, come and be in person here at the city of Crawford. Secondly, I wanted to walk you guys through the proposed ordinance and see if there's any changes you guys would like to make. And then third, I'd like to potentially narrow down that list of properties. We got a pretty lengthy list of 2.5 pages of properties that might qualify for the registry, but it'd be nice to narrow that down to a specific preliminary target list of about 15 properties. So my plan would be to come back in here tomorrow morning and speak with some city staff to discuss that and narrow down that list to a specific list of properties. I'm going to try to be brief and just go through this ordinance, point out specific notes that you might find helpful. I don't know if you guys have read through the ordinance yourself, but just so starting on section, I don't know if you have the ordinance in front of you, page 2, section 8-603. So we deal with both commercial and residential properties. The definition of commercial building simply being any property that is not a residential property. So it includes both, but we put every property into each category because the category we place it in is, it impacts how we administer that property specifically. And I can get into that a little bit more. But each property we include on this registry must exhibit evidence of vacancy, and so those are listed down here below. In section 2, it's A through F, these are evidences of vacancy. These are not conclusive necessarily, because, as to our amazement, some people live in properties with inactive utilities, and that being evidence of vacancy. That seems to be the most objective one on the list, whether or not the property lacks utility accounts. But if a property ends up being occupied by a resident or a business without utility accounts, that might be a separate angle you guys would have to take with rather than the vacant property registry. But this is a good starting spot because it's the most objective, and so that's the list that I have for these properties with inactive utility accounts. So it would be good to narrow it down from there. And then letter F, any other condition basically. So it catches everything else. The goal of the evidences of vacancy is primarily to point us in the right direction. Like I said, it's not conclusive, but it is a good indicator to point us toward properties that are vacant. So the goal of the registry is to have the property be occupied, not exactly so that the utility accounts might be reactivated. That might be a good end goal, but the goal is reoccupancy, not necessarily the specific evidences of vacancy, if that makes sense. And again, if you have any questions, please stop me and ask that question. Going on to page 3, this article shall not apply to property owned by the federal government in Nebraska or any political subdivision thereof. So if you own a property and it's not being utilized as a residence or business, that's not going on the registry. Section 8-605, property owners will be required to register their property. So the way we enforce that is simply by saying if the property owner does not register their property, we'll register the property on their behalf. So I'll send a notice, so this will be the process. Once we come to a list of properties to begin with, I'll send an initial notice to the owner saying your property has been identified and it's showing that it's a vacancy. You have 15 days to register your property, and if you fail to do so, we'll register your property on your behalf. And so I'll send them that notice. If they fail to register their property, I'll send them another notice saying your property was registered on this date. Or if they do register their property, I'll send them the second notice saying that you have registered your property on this specific date, and then that registration date will lay out the fee schedule for that property for as long as it's on the registry. So the first fee will come due 6 months after the initial registration date. And so that initial registration date is sort of it's the marker, it's when the timeline begins. So 6 months after, if it's a residential property, the first fee due would be $250. That's the way this ordinance says it, that's the maximum the state statute permits. $250 will come due 6 months after the date of registration. For a residential property. For commercial property, that initial fee is $1,000. 6 months after the first fee, so a year after registration, the second fee will come due. And that'll be double the previous. So each subsequent fee will be double the previous fee. So for residential property, at intervals of 6 months, the fee schedule will look like $250, $500, $1,000, $2,000, and then once the fee gets up to 10 times of the initial amount of $250, then it flattens out there, and then every 6 months it's $2,500. The same being true for commercial, 1,000, 2,000, 4,000, 8,000, and then 10,000 every 6 months. Now, we would love for this not to just go on indefinitely for these properties, especially for properties if we hear from the property owner. Let's say they're living in Chatham and they have intent to renovate the property and they're actively working on it, then we'll probably be fairly lenient on it. If they live in California and they maybe want to get to it in 20 years, then once it gets to a limit, we'd say maybe $8,000, we would recommend pursuing foreclosure. For every unpaid fee, that fee becomes a lien against the property. And so that's, that's the enforcement of this registry. If a fee goes unpaid, that fee becomes a lien, and then that lien down the line can you can pursue foreclosure on that. But that's after maybe three or 4 years. We want to give the owner an opportunity to respond to this. So, and so that enforcement, that can also be the way we are lenient on the property owner that is communicating with us, saying, you'll receive this fee letter, but if you correspond with us, and if you're working on the property consistently, we won't enforce that fee as a lien against the property. Okay.
Do you have to show proof of that? I mean, how do they prove it? They just say that they're doing it and
Yeah,
you
so.
guys would never really know.
Yeah, so that's a good point. So that's something we've run into in some of our other communities is claiming that they're occupying the property, but no one's seen them in that house for years. Maybe they're claiming they're living there on the weekends without utilities, or they're staying there a month out of the year. There's gonna be a lot of discretion on the part of the city council. We're gonna require them to provide some sort of proof. Maybe it's a utility bill, utilities indicating consumption of utilities after the property. You don't wanna be too invasive necessarily, but there is a appeal process that the property owner can go to if they claim, hey, I'm living there. Then they can come to the city council, present that documentation, and if it's sufficient to the city council, then you can let them off the registry.
So like to forgive this, if they're under construction or renovating, then we need to require receipts of work being done or materials being bought,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah, those are certainly things you can require. Do you issue building permits? Yeah, we can do that. You can require a building permit. Things like that. You can certainly require. And then say, in that case, even though the property is still vacant, we would leave it on the registry, but we would be lenient with the execution of those liens.
Sure.
The only exemption that is listed in the ordinance is the only exemption that is required by state statute, and that is if the property is advertised in good faith for sale or lease, then we have to exempt the property from the registry. But that in good faith part is a little bit gray area. So we've taken the liberty to define that as being listed with a realtor at no more than 125% of the assessed value, according to the So we try to clear that up a little bit, so you can't just list your property for sale by owner for $500,000 and then have that be listed for sale in good faith. And then in the exemptions section, .2, there's the process for requesting an exemption. They would need to submit their request in writing with including the documentation supporting their claim for their exemption, and then a vote of the city council. But that would again be pertaining to the advertising good faith for sale release. So maybe the realtor listing. The next point is supposed to be .3, not .4, but we'll get that. We'll get that place. Page 5 lays out the, section 8-607.1. A subsequent owner of any property subject to the ordinance will assume the obligations of the previous owner. So again, in some communities, we've had people say, well, since I sold the property to a new owner, then it should be start from the very beginning of the process. We don't permit that. The statute also says that that's not necessarily permitted because we don't want two buddies selling the property back and forth to each other. We don't want someone bouncing the property back and forth between LLCs, and basically the process can never get going. Now again, that's up to the discretion of the city if you want to show leniency to a person who just recently got the property and there's a high level of fees. That's up to you guys, but that's not necessarily written out here in the ordinance. What's written out here is if a person purchases the property, then they pick it up basically from the same place in the fee schedule where the previous owner left off. If that makes sense. So in addition to requesting an exemption, someone can also request an appeal. The appeal is that they believe the property is not vacant. So again, if they're living there seasonally, means that I live there, it's not vacant, and then they have to come to the city council, submit their request in writing, including this list of items and documentation supporting that claim. It's a bit different than an appeal because that would require the property to be removed from the registry if you grant that, if that property is not vacant. The exemption is if the property is listed for sale in good faith, even if it's not occupied. Does that distinction make sense?
Mhm.
Skipping on. I don't think I had anything necessarily on the next page, just sort of defining adverse decision. Notifications, alright, yeah, so I'll be, my role here will be to send letters, notification, and to have owner correspondence, so a lot of the day-to-day duties. So I'll notify property owners, when, by letter, when they have the obligation to register the property, when the property has been registered, when each fee is going to be due, and if they have a lien placed on the property, then I'll notify them that they have a lien on the property with a copy of the lien included. And then all other additional correspondence as well. So if city clerk gets phone calls from angry property owners, you can simply refer them to us. Our number and contact information will be on every letter that they receive. That's our role as the third-party administrator is to take the phone calls. Yep. So on page 7, the top one there, we'll be relying on the Dawes County Assessor website for all the addresses and the owner information. If the owner gets to us that a better address will be is better, then we'll update that as well. But initially we'll use the Dawes County Assessor information. And then if the property has more than one owner of record, that's .4 there. Any notice to one owner, shall constitute notice to all owners. And then further down on the enforcement portion, point 3 there, that is the section that gives us the authority to file unpaid fees as liens against the property. Do you have any questions for me on the ordinance right now?
So who are the fees paid to directly?
That'll be the city of Crawford. So, our mailing address will be in the letter, so they can mail it to us. And we'll document it, because we'll document everything, and then send that to you guys. Or they could just send it to you guys, and then you can, scan us a copy of the check, and then we'll document it from that.
Okay.
But our mailing address will be included on the letter.
Okay.
Made out to City of Crawford.
Wonderful.
So one of the complaints we've gotten in some of the previous communities is that, nobody has heard of this, they're just getting surprised by these letters. My response to that is usually, well, the letter you received is your notice, that the vacant property registry is here in your community. But however, in some communities we've done this, and some we haven't, we can send a notice out in the newspaper, sort of public notice that the vacant property registry is coming. Do you have a preference? Would you like there to be a notice in the newspaper? If so, we can put that together and send that to your newspaper on record.
I have an idea, why don't you have a town hall? This is gonna be very confusing. I think it'd be informative for the public.
I think with what we have here, I mean, it's not gonna affect the entire community, it's only gonna affect the select few, that actually do not abide by the ordinance or have vacant and abandoned buildings.
We've had several meetings on this too.
Yes, we have, and you guys have presented multiple times too, so, but yeah, if you guys would like to have that
In the paper.
in the paper, I don't see that that
When
would
did
be
we
a problem.
start this process? When did we have that first meeting with you? Was that
We
Last
did
fall.
this back in April.
I was gonna say, we first spoke in the fall, but I think they finally came in,
Right.
ready to do a presentation on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. if you don't mind, put it in the
In the paper?
Yes.
Yeah, what is your local newspaper?
Crawford.
Crawford Clip, yeah.
Crawford Clipper?
And I can get you Jess's contact information.
Perfect, thank you.
308-665-2310.
I'm sorry, what was it, 308?
308-665-2150.
2150? Thank you.
All right. Well, if we're done with questions, then we'll go ahead and move on from 7 to 8.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Number 8 is discuss, approve, disapprove the ordinance that was just discussed, but ordinance 702 to adopt the vacant property registration provisions as Article 6 in Chapter 8, building regulations of the municipal code. This would constitute as the first reading. An ordinance, so it'd be ordinance 702, an ordinance to adopt vacant property registration provisions as Article 6, vacant property registration in Chapter 8, building regulations of the municipal code of Crawford, Nebraska, to repeal any conflicting ordinances, to provide for an effective date, and to order publication in pamphlet form. Be it ordained by the mayor and the city council of the city of Crawford, Nebraska. Do we need a motion for that, or readings in it?
Reading's fine, unless you go 3 readings, which probably is a good idea.
Okay.
Next meeting, you'll have your second reading.
Okay. Thank you. We'll move to number 9. Discuss, approve, disapprove resolution 2026-22 to appoint 5 Rule LLC as program administrator for the vacant property registration for the city.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2026-22.
I have a motion by Dean, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, From, roll call. Dean?
Yes.
Crum?
Yes.
Gaston? Yes. Thank you. We will move on to number 10. 10 is discuss, approve, disapprove resolution 2026-21 for the proposed sale of the Ponderosa Villa. Do I need to read anything?
Thank you, sir.
Yep, thank
Thank you,
you.
Doug.
See you in the morning.
I'll be in the office tomorrow.
Perfect.
That's okay.
Yep, that'll work
Thank
great.
you, guys.
Thank you, Doug. Sure.
We got to set a date for the sale,
Okay, we have to have advertising for a set. Okay.
end of September.
Okay. Be it resolved by the mayor and the city council of the city of Crawford, Nebraska, whereas the city of Crawford is the owner of the property known as Ponderosa Villa Nursing Home, located at 755 First Street, Crawford, Nebraska. Legal description attaches Exhibit A, which is hereby declared to be surplus to the city. And whereas the city of Crawford has received a request from a party interested in said property. Now therefore be it resolved by the mayor and the city council of the city of Crawford, Nebraska, that the city will offer the said property at a silent public auction for continued use as a nursing home facility providing services and employment to the city of Crawford on September
That's what
blank at this time, so it'll be towards the end of September 2026 at the hour of 1 p.m. in the City Hall building, City of Crawford, Nebraska, at which time the bidding amount shall begin at $2,181,000 and no dollars. And said sale shall be held open for 1 hour and sold to the highest bidder. Winning bidder shall deposit 1% of sale price with seller or seller's designee and execute a purchase contract within 10 days of the sale. The city reserves the right to reject any and all bids and to waive any informality and technicality in any bid and to accept any bid that is deemed in the best interest of the city. Notice of the proposed sale shall be published once a week for 3 consecutive weeks in the Crawford Clipper, a legal newspaper published in the city of Crawford. A 30-day right of remonstrance period shall commence following the 3rd notice of publication. Pursuant to section 17-503, following the passage of this resolution, 3 publications of the notice of the proposed sale and passing of the 30-day right of remonstrance period, the property shall then be sold. Sale will be cash at close. Such sale shall be confirmed by passage of an ordinance stating the name of the purchaser and the terms of the sale. And this would be dated today, as passed.
Does that include the building and the business?
Yes,
it's basically turnkey, really. And that starting price is based on the appraisal. Here's what will happen, we'll either get a bid or not at that starting price. If we do not, then we will reach out and negotiate a sale. For purposes of state statute, I wanted to start it at the appraised price at the beginning of the appraisal. That may not be what we get, but it's gonna be advertised as such to begin with.
Sounds good.
Make a motion to approve resolution number 2026-21. Do we need to set the dates
And I'm
now?
thinking,
September,
we could do September the 25th, the last Friday, you could do it on Monday the 28th.
yeah,
Let's do the Monday the 28th.
okay, September 28th, 2026. Date August 25th.
yes.
Put a notice together, which will mirror the resolution.
Thank you, Ernest. Motion by Fromm, second by Dean, roll call. Fromm?
Yes.
Dean? Gaston? Yes. Thank you. Move on to number 11, discuss, approve, disapprove resolution 2026-23, signing of the municipal annual certification of program compliance for NDOT, the Nebraska Department of Transportation. This is kind of an annual signing, for compliance, and this is what's tied to our highway allocation, correct? Okay. I have a motion to approve. Questions?
This is, yeah, it's the same thing, yeah, so I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2026-23.
Thank you, Crum. And do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Gaston. Roll call, please. Crum?
Yes.
Gaston? Yes. Dean?
Yes.
Thank advertising for bids for the purchase of the Ponderosa Villa.
And we've taken care of that, we'll get a notice in the paper pursuant to the resolution.
Okay. Do I need a motion? Okay. Thank you. Number 13, open bids and award bid for animals shelter services. Jane, did you have any submissions?
We've had one submission, thank you.
Who was that?
Surprise, surprise.
From Crawford Companion Animal Clinic. And I'll hand it down and decide how much you wanna read and pass it.
Sure. Attention City of Crawford, subject to the bid for the Crawford City Pound for 9/1/2026 to 9/1/2028. Services provided, housing of stray animals for a prescribed period of time, feeding of animals while housed at the clinic, euthanization of animals when necessary, and disposal of euthanized animals. The bid is $275 monthly to guarantee pound room for the care and feeding of stray animals for up to 3 days. Euthanization and disposal fees for animals remaining after 3 days are as follows. And she's got a nice breakdown. It says Crawford Companion Animal Clinic reserves the right to adopt out animals remaining after 3 days. However, the city will be charged the euthanasia fee to help defray the cost of food and care after 3 days. Do I have a motion to accept the bid, or would you like to look at the details?
Quite a change from.
It's a lot more detailed than it was before, but she's always provided all of the details of that, but that is a lot. Those costs have increased for
It's
her.
gonna be defer the cost of euthanasia to the city.
Travis, do we capture a lot of stray animals and haul them up there?
Without looking at the cost of services, giving you a breakdown, I'd say no more than any other small community. So to get a better answer, we would have to research that and give you an answer specifically what we're looking at. And again, every quarter is different, every year is gonna be different.
Okay.
As I said, off of going off of just what you read online, I think a lot of our residents capture and bring them up there for other residents. I don't know that you guys get called for a lot of that, so
Yeah, there's a lot
it's a
of,
lot of communal assistance with that.
So we don't wanna talk about the alternatives, so I guess we don't have much of a choice but to accept this.
I don't think it's out of line.
No, and none of those additional costs are
She hasn't changed her
unreasonable.
rate for their animals.
Right. Do I have a motion to accept the bid?
I'll make a motion that we accept the bid for, animal shelter services.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion by Fromm to accept the bid and a second by Dean. Roll call please. Fromm?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Gaston?
Yes.
Thank you. Number 14, open bids and award bid for fuel bids.
I wonder if this can get.
One bid, one fuel bid, marked fuel bid, and then there's one marked propane bid.
This one's for fuel, Gene?
Yep, for fuel.
Request for proposal for gasoline and or diesel fuel at the pump. Looks like bidder's contract price for gasoline at the pump would be $3.81 per price per gallon gasoline, minimum 85 octane. That is with the final price after federal taxes deducted, about 4.569 price per gallon for premium gasoline and a 0.184 federal gasoline tax. If ultimate vendor, to be deducted from statement. Bidder's contract price for diesel at the pump. For number 1 diesel, it is not available. For number 2 diesel, it would be 4.811 cents. And the federal diesel tax would be 0.244 cents. Says if we provide a tax exempt certificate, yes. Additional information would include if a fixed price contract is not preferred, Wesco can continue to provide service at a 5-cent discount to our listed pricing on day of delivery. It looks like they have a second one for the non-highway diesel bulk. Bidder's contract price for non-highway diesel for bulk would be 4.249 price per gallon. Less federal diesel tax, non-highway diesel is not charged for federal tax. Price to be billed to the city would be 4.249. It says, do you have the ability to provide bulk diesel? Yes, on our premises, they said yes. And if we provide tax exempt certificate, are you able to remove the tax prior to your payment? And they also agreed yes. Any questions? Should look it over.
Do we,
And this covers all of our fuel needs, these?
Yes, we aren't doing bulk unleaded anymore.
Okay.
I don't think anybody's getting premium anymore.
I don't think so.
Yes,
Yeah, we run pretty.
that's what he runs in his
And
mowers,
the mowers?
Mowers.
all small engines and mowers included.
That's a.
Chainsaws, all that stuff have to be
And the first one?
clear.
So the choice is a 5-cent discount.
premium, yeah, premium is set at 456.9.
Jane had a question.
So they're giving us a choice of to continue the 5-cent per gallon law,
Or what they have,
lower
yes.
prices. And 5 cents is what we typically have.
Yeah, I don't know why you wanna lock it in right now, that's crazy. My question to, Jim, do we have a bulk tank for diesel? Do they not use it?
Yeah.
They do use it,
For off-road stuff,
okay,
the big equipment.
okay. Just, yeah. Yeah,
So I would make the motion to approve the Wesco bid for fuel at the 5-cent per gallon discount. And included in that, motion is that all fuel has to be purchased
At this bid.
from the bidder.
I have a
So
motion.
all fuel has to be bought up at Wesco, no place else.
the other thing I think we should do there is we buy our bulk fuel, not at the pump, for diesel.
Right.
This is, what is it, 70 cents cheaper or 60 cents cheaper?
Right.
Well, it's red fuel, you only use it in non-highway equipment.
Right.
And that's.
Was it red, is it red dye?
So we can't run it in the dump truck. I don't know, there are pieces of equipment run it in and run it in the gator records, so we can't put it in the dump truck. So if you saw that there.
Well, I mean, that's, what else we got that's over the off highway, though? We don't have any pickups that are diesel, just the dump truck. So we'd have to, yeah, it'd have to be available to, I just don't wanna see a road grader down there, you can feel the bump or whatever.
The street sweeper.
That's not road, that's not,
That's diesel also.
Right.
You run the red fuel in it.
yeah, you run
Okay.
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 So, okay,
You're committing to the deputy that you're driving.
Can you clean the streets?
I second,
Okay. I have a motion from Dean and a second from Fromm. Are you good with what we have, Jane, there, without clarification?
I think what for Wesco at 5-cent discount gallon, all fuel must be purchased from this bid.
Okay. Thank you. Roll call.
Dean?
Yes.
Rob?
yes.
Gaston?
Yes.
Yeah, I do have a propane.
And we actually do.
Okay.
I have a propane bill.
Oh, the other one, yep.
And this is just for the south water plant, right? For the heat. What's the
Well,
other?
I also supply to the golf course
Oh, sure.
The gallery, to the water plant.
and
Isn't the gallery not electric heat?
No.
Okay.
Okay, this would be request for proposal for propane. The supplier will provide tanks as indicated by location or quote a lease price for each golf course, one 360-gallon tank and one 120-gallon tank. Water wells, two 250-gallon tanks, and a water plant, one 1,000-gallon tank. Purchase of propane for delivery will be accomplished by charging the purchase to the city of Crawford. Each delivery ticket shall indicate the number of gallons delivered, type of fuel were delivered, and a signature of the employee receiving the fuel. Delivery tickets can be signed at Crawford City Hall. Payment will be made from statement presented monthly within net 30 terms. Looks like bidder's contract price for propane for delivery is $1.69.9 per gallon total to be billed to the city of Crawford, with a minimum of 400 gallons to be purchased at a time. Do you have the ability to provide propane tanks on our premises? The answer was yes to that, and they indicated the same as what was done up above. Looks like all the detail. That would also be from Wesco. Comments or motion?
I motion to approve Wesco for the propane bid.
I have a motion from Dean, do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Gaston, roll call. Dean?
Yes.
Gaston?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and move on to number 15, discuss approve, disapprove purchase of backhoe chisel /jackhammer for $14,500 and a backhoe quick coupler for $2,434. And we did end up with a little extra in the street department this year, at the end of the year with all the saving that we've been trying to do. We've got a couple areas around town that we were able to fix, and in addition to that, Tim had come forward and requested that these items would be, would make his world more efficient and easier. So this is what he has presented, and he did provide the quotes for these. Do we have any questions or comments or motion?
I've already talked to him about it, I think it's a great idea.
I'd like to propose instead of jackhammer, that you buy a mower for the shop.
Say that again.
I'd like to propose that he buys a mower for the shop instead.
Okay. Because we don't have older ones that can be used there, or?
We do.
Okay. Do you have reasoning behind that, more than not have it?
Oh, yeah, I mean, he could keep that shop really knocked down and looking really good with a brand new mower up there.
What about if the park department sells him one of the ones that you rebuilt for $2,000?
We could probably do that too.
That sounds like a better idea than spending $14,000 on a brand new one to
Yeah.
tear up there.
Then I could borrow it.
The old one. Any other questions or comments on the chisel jackhammer?
I think it's a no-brainer, it saves
Take backs and
backs
provides.
and, workman's comp issues and things like that.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve both.
I have a motion from Dean, do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second from Gaston, roll call please. Dean?
Yes.
Gaston?
Yes.
Ron?
Yeah.
Did I?
Yes.
I didn't miss any, you didn't have any other questions? Okay. 16. Discuss approve, disapprove.
Oh, I would like to say that on the purchase of this, that they need to send us an invoice right away so we can get it paid before the end of the year.
Yes, please. That'd be great.
We'll take delivery when they get it in stock, but we need to pay for it before September 30th.
16 is discuss approve, disapprove, pledging $2,000 of Keno funds towards the city pond renovation project. I don't want to read tonight, my tongue's not up for it, so my apologies. Did you want, either one of you want to have a chance to speak about what we have kind of brewing within the park with this renovation project?
Absolutely.
If you're up for it, Kevin, we'd love to hear more about it. Thank you.
My name is Kevin Hall, and I work for City of Crawford. And just a side note to this pond day. I've been working with the Parks Department 3-4 years now, 4 seasons, and it's always been kind of a pipe dream of mine to get down there, at least dig out the pond, make it deeper, make it a better fish habitat and a fishery for the children of our community, because that's what it is right now, is 14 and under can come and fish this pond. And there's a lot of kids that come down there and utilize it throughout the day. I've seen down there quite a bit during the summer and everything. I'm talking with some community members and everything, coworkers and all that, and just dreaming about how we could get a backhoe down there to dig it out and everything. Well, I got a call from Mayor Grant a month and a half, 2 months ago, and asked if I'd be willing to meet with Doug Zingula, right?
Zingula.
Zingula.
Yep.
Excuse me, Doug. Beg your pardon.
I've heard worse.
To go and talk with Doug about maybe finding a way and an option of how to get this done and everything. We met down there, and I was thinking it was a new idea, but I was informed that this idea had been in the works back in 2019, that he had some sponsors that wanted to get this pond dug out, rehab it, so to say, and everything, and get some fish in there, not only for 14-year-olds, but for the whole community and say visitors or tourists that come through the area and everything, to kind of bring people into town and say, hey, we got a nice trout pond down in the park. And then COVID hit, and then once COVID hit, I was told that kind of just, it flatlined from there. So when we met 2 months ago, he's revitalizing this idea and this plan and everything. Allegedly that there are some donors that would like to donate to this project and everything, but they want to see the city of Crawford kind of have some skin in the game and everything. With that being said, I drummed up a little interest in the community, and we met with the excavator, with the fisheries guy, and there's, I think they found 13 community members that met us down at the park down there to talk about getting this pond and how to go about it and what to do about it and everything. We have a plan on doing it. Ed Utner, with Utner Construction, offered to come up and do it, at a discount rate. He has Utner Construction, he's out of Hay Springs and everything. He'd be coming up to do the work and everything. Doug's got Joe Rydell, he's the fishery biologist from the Northwest District of Nebraska. He committed to come in once we get the pond dug, and fill back up. He committed to come in and fill it this fall, and then come back in the spring and stocking it in the spring and seeing, how we're doing at that time, and then put in, it's just like everything else, it's a business for the fisheries. He has to put in his order so far in advance, say, okay, I need 14,000 trout to, disperse here and there and everything. So at that time, we find out what our need for the trout would be, and we just continue that. The pond down there is kind of a big deal, and without the help of community members, it wouldn't be a pond. So I want to give a big shout out to the people that go down there and do all that work. A little hidden secret that people don't know about me is I have a lot of help down there in that park, and there's a lot of people that are invested in down there and everything. So the pond looks as amazing as it does now because of their hard work and everything. I'm just thinking if we get this excavation and this dig going, just the endless opportunities and everything that phase 1 could bring, and then how we could expand from that and everything. The first phase that we want to do is going to be 13,500, and that includes lining the pond, riprap on the north end, which would be the overflow and everything. Basically digging it and doing it right. There is a proposal to do a second pond down there, which would be 5,500. So all in all, we're looking at about $19,000 to do 2 ponds down there, clean out the existing one, make it a little bit bigger, and then digging the second one down there also. The benefits for these ponds and everything, I think are, you can't put a dollar tag on them, a price on them and everything. You have indirect money coming in by people coming in saying, wow, what a nice park, wow, we have fishery down there, we camp down there. So it's just kind of an upgrade to the park and get people in here. Another nice benefit, and this is kind of a side story and everything, there's a member of our community now, he's been here for about 8 months or whatever. I've got to know him a little bit and everything, and he was wanting to get out of where he was from, going the deciding factor for him to move to Crawford, buy a home here, and, support the community and everything, was the park. And he expected to roll in, see a broken swing set with some tumbleweeds under it and everything. And we went down there, saw that, he was kind of blown away. And I hear that on the daily, which is wonderful. So anyway, I'm asking, for $2,000, and that will help us get the first phase, the 13.5, it'll like barely get us there. I would like to ask for more if we could, maybe do the second pond. Because with that being said, the transport fee just bringing in this 60-foot extendo, it's $1,500, that's just to load it up and get it here, that's no digging whatsoever. So if we're doing phases, same, have them come out and do the first phase of our project, load it back up, take home, then getting back out here again, it's gonna be $5,500 plus $1,500, so you're looking at $7,000 for it, doing more work.
So what would you like that to be, Kevin?
So, yeah, I don't know, Doug, I mean, you know, I didn't wanna sound greedy, I wanted to be able to obtain something to show the contributors that are gonna be donating funds to have this done and everything, that, hey, you know, the city is serious and we wanna, you know, it's not my personal, dream and goals and everything, there's a lot of community members, you know, we wanna see this happen and everything. I thought $2,000 would be a good baseline, but, I can leave it up to the council if you think that there's a little extra, fundages in there, that, you know, somebody can make a proposal to bump that up, I think that would really help.
So like how you said 2,000 would barely get you there for phase one, so,
Right.
so. What about the what ifs? The unknowns?
Are you talking about logistics of doing it, Doug, or?
No,
Just the amount, and
Yeah.
what would it take to make that happen as one project as opposed to two,
Yeah,
so that way they're not
for-
coming
I mean,
back
for
twice.
Doug,
You know, if there's an opportunity for us to spend a little more to save a little more, then that would be effective.
Right.
So I'm Doug Singula. I've been around, nobody probably knows who I am. I keep a little profile pretty much. But I've hung around up here for over 40 years, just hunting, fishing, camping. Originally am from Sydney and spent most of my adult life there, but been up here, like I said, for 40 years. Met my wife up here, got married. We have a second home out on Saw Log Road here. So this area is really kind of our second home. And as maybe Connie can attest, we got involved here about 6-7 years ago when there was an effort here to kind of a revitalization of the downtown area. And my wife drug me in on that too. But anyway, so there was a lot of discussion about the park. And the park was, based on surveys here within the community, was a big part of the community. Everybody really was looking for, you know, more development, more usage. How do we keep the young people? How do we keep the kids? You know, so on and so forth. And so part of it, I'll back up, I didn't say, is I'm also the commissioner for Game and Parks and for the Panhandle. And so with that connection, I went back to Game and Parks and I said, listen, we have a community up here. I mean, it's right outside Fort Robb. We get 300,000 visitors a year. And people still want to come into the park. They want to be able to use it. They want to see it. People want to move here. I mean, it's a beautiful area. And so with that, we tried to put a program together, as was indicated prior to COVID, both in digging out the pond, and then there was some other work that we had talked about, just in trails and extended campgrounds. Game and Parks, legislature throws a lot of different federal programs over the fence to Game and Parks, and so there are some other programs, federal programs, that we tried to tie in here for the city of Crawford. And unfortunately, COVID hit and everything kind of came to a standstill. I was up here a couple months ago, and somebody that had been on that committee previously approached me and said, what about the trout pond? And so hence we're here tonight. So I had conversations with Game and Parks. It kind of starts there. We need trout, right? I mean, you can dig a hole, but you still gotta have fish. And Game and Parks is still on board to put the city of Crawford on their community program, which they have throughout the state, and they stock those on an annual basis, typically twice a year. Just kind of depends on the water and the city and the needs. And they've agreed to put the city of Crawford, if we can get the pond built, on that program for stocking trout, probably twice a year. So that piece of it is done. Then obviously the big question is okay, where do we get the money? You know, we got the bid, as Kevin indicated, with Ed over there in Hay Springs, and came in. You know, we started talking about the first pond first, and that comes in at $13,500, and then of course we all have a Christmas wish list that we'd like to have, and well, now there's a second pond and this and that, and there's another $5,500. But you know, if we stay focused on you know, the main objective of getting the big pond put in, we're at $13,500. Having said that, I went conversation with two particular donors that were involved 7 years ago with this project, and a lot of discussions, but coming back right now between those two donors, I have $10,000. So if you take $10,000 and put it with the two that the city's committing to, we're $1,500 short. I'm not quite sure how we make that up, but we're pretty close. I think, you know, for everyone in this room, I'd hate to walk away from this project for $1,500, but I feel pretty good that this can happen. I think the only thing the donors would like is, you know, do it sooner rather than later. So my conversations with Ed is going to be free here probably in the next few weeks, next month, and I think if we were able to put together and the city council agrees to it, he'd have a pond before we knew it.
That's awesome.
Why don't
Doug,
you guys
I
just-
want to thank you for coming and speaking and for the opportunity to speak with the city. I know when I reached out, this sounded really exciting to make this happen. And I want to echo what Kevin said. We're very, very lucky to have all the volunteers that we do to have the park look the way it does. It wouldn't look that amazing.
Yep.
And it wouldn't present as well as it does without the volunteers that we have. So the city's very, very grateful for all that. I know when Kevin called me, he said, you know, hey, they really like the city to have a little skin in the game. I said, you know, they're more than welcome to use our labor by all means. But yeah, this is exactly what the Keno funds, the intention of it is to be, is for the use of the community. And I don't think it's that unreasonable for us to consider funding some sort of part of this to help get it kickstarted.
What would it take to rebuild the fish hatchery?
More than the donors want to put in.
Well, maybe if we scratch them back with a little help here, then it will encourage them to invest even more in the future.
Little bit at a time.
Yeah, yeah.
Then you're
So-
putting to our steam ground.
So $9,000 could put this project over the top.
So with the second pond you're talking about, yeah, you're actually closer than that. 5,500 plus 15, 7,000. Am I doing my math right?
So 2,000.
Yep.
Was the initial ask, 5,500 for the second
Oh,
pond.
no, back up. 13,500 is the original ask for the original pond. I've got donors that are gonna write a check for $10,000 plus your two is 12,000, so you're 1,500 short.
So
If you wanna finish that, you need another 1,500.
So 3,500, or, yeah, 3,500 gets the first pond built, and then another 5,500 on top of that, so 9,000.
Yeah.
Okay. Kevin, has anybody checked the water rates on this? I'm gonna be the bad guy.
Well, the
It should
city
be
has
surface,
water
it
rights,
should be
has
surface.
first water rights on the river, and we are not consuming that water. Water's coming in and it's being returned back to the river.
The pond is fed from
I'm just
way,
I hear you.
doing what I gotta
exactly-
do,
I know
we
exactly
gotta
what's
make
happening.
sure that you have the right, especially if you're thinking about building another pond.
Right.
Now, with ponds like that, there are some ways to deal with that. I just, again, go back to your
So-
discussion. Game of Parks, maybe you're aware, I'm just sitting here thinking.
So at one time, the water came in off of the floor, right? So then wells were changed, lines were changed, and it went back. Did a fair amount of research in the city offices and the archives down there. There was an original agreement with the state for the water rights coming out of the river where it's currently being pulled. Now, that's as far as I'm willing to go on that statement, but
I just checked Department of Natural Resources and I'm not seeing that.
Okay.
But I'm on my phone, I'm not digging too deep, so I just want you to make sure.
Right.
that you're-
Currently, I don't think, the feeling was when we had the fishery folks here, in terms of additional gallons used or water used,
If
it
it's,
didn't look,
if it's water in, water out, usually not a problem.
And that's what it is, right?
Especially for fish habitat.
Right.
Just throwing that out there, because that's my job to be the dark side.
My question is, what are you guys gonna do with all the sludge you drag out there and debris with that?
that was part of, the conversation. And
So,
I'll let
what we
Kevin-
talked about was digging the pond. I did commandeer the sale barn dump truck, and we thought we'd be running 2 dump trucks to dump it up on the rodeo grounds. Our suggestion, which me and member, offered, was to have them dig, pile it, and we get the front end loader, and we take it, we put it over by the motocross track. And then from there, we can spread it out and make our landscape over there.
Okay, how deep are you gonna go with it?
We thought, based on just rock bottom and everything else, probably 8 feet if we can get there.
And at 8 feet, you gonna have to aerate it?
No.
You don't have to.
They, according to the fisheries, I'm not a fisheries guy, but talking to the fisheries guys, they thought there was enough oxygen, water flow
If
in
they're
there.
flowing in, flowing out, it should be okay.
Just have a comment.
You bet.
The main reason the guy from the state of Nebraska came up here wanted to see if the pond that we had would sustain trout. And there's some 6-pound trout in there, so he's real happy with it. We should be able to raise 2 ponds easy.
The other observation I'd like to make is that this is a great opportunity to work with Human Parks. Because everything we think about in our natural habitat in the parks just relates directly to what you guys do and the audience that we have in the forums.
Human Parks, I mean, the commission, I mean, there's been a lot of changes. I've been on the board, on the commission now for 8 years. I should have been off, but it was, the state statute was changed and, I guess I didn't keep my head low enough. So I have another 4 years. But all my conversations have been with Human Parks, and they would love nothing more than to have a viable relationship with the city of Crawford. I mean, we have the fort right out there. Anything that they could do to help facilitate that relationship, they're wide open.
There's a lot of possibilities down there, and you know, we gotta start somewhere. What is available?
It's in your packet, $121,000.
121.
I would make a motion to approve $9,000 for the completion of the whole project.
Do I have a second on that motion or another motion?
Do the math.
You're all right, you're all right, you can think about it for a bit.
Jenny, do you have any grants out on this? No, I don't think grants, but.
It's the donors, he's found
Yeah.
donors
Oh,
up to
okay.
$10,000, so
Yeah.
that's a good chunk of
Yeah.
it. And then too, I think as what, you know, the way that Kevin started it from the beginning, you know, we're also demonstrating that we're willing to help out and put our effort in our side too. Like, not only are they investing in our community, but we're interested enough to meet them with that investment and to take care of it and to, you know, move forward with it growing in that direction. And with this being an opportunity for us to grow that relationship with those departments, it's a nice opportunity in that direction. We haven't had that in a long time.
I agree 100%. My thing is, we've got city streets and
We
everything,
do,
we've got
we do.
things that need to
It
be
is a lot to
addressed, you
consider.
know.
Yeah.
I would like to see this, I'm not gonna say no, obviously, I think this is a great idea, I just don't know that 9,000 is available. You know, I understand where you're getting
You know,
at.
funds can't be used on the streets.
Well, no, I'm saying there's other issues
Sure.
in town.
Sure.
I'm not saying, there's other possibilities for it, so.
One
And
of the
then-
main,
We turned it down.
the main reasons that pond was put in the park, cause I grew up there and my dad didn't have time to take me fishing. So we just, all of us guys got together and made that pond for all the kids in the park in town to walk down there the fish without their parents.
Yeah.
And get them out of their houses, away from their iPads in nature. We don't do that anymore.
I guess I'm just, I see these pictures, good job, Kevin, bringing pictures in.
Yeah, that's
Reminds me
That's
a little
beautiful.
reminiscent.
Yeah.
of, you know, when I was a kid.
I think it's
and
interesting.
down- well,
Old pictures of the park before the flood.
And those were courtesy of,
We're just asking for 2 of those ponds back. That would be nice. Kids would enjoy them.
I was before to them.
And it's an asset to your community, yeah.
I just wanna say, I think it's a necessity in our community because our park is our #1 top priority there. And I am just like Kevin, I hear it all the time, I cannot believe what kind of park you have. And I do hip camp, and I tell people, why are you here when we have a beautiful park? And then they go and see the park, and that's one of the cool things. And they come for hip camp because I know the areas, I tell them where to go, what type of things to do. But I think you're cutting your leg off if you don't do them both at the same time, because it's gonna cost you more in the end. And maybe you can think a little bit outside the box, maybe you can line it and maybe just fill it with a little ice so kids can do a little ice skating, you know? I mean, you can think of it I mean, you said 2 stages, well, get it dug, get it lined, and maybe you can do a little ice skating this winter and do things like that. If you don't think you can do it all at once, I mean, maybe 7,000 could get you dug and the liner on, I mean, or I say do it all at once. But if you don't think you have the funds, to me, it sounds like you have the funds and it's just sitting there collecting, and, I feel like it's a top priority, and, I just love the park.
It's what Keno's for, I think you need to do both projects. Do the whole thing.
The city must remember that once upon a time, they fought very hard to save the fish hatchery and saved it. They fought the US government, they fought the state of Nebraska, and they were able to save the fish hatchery. Many people believe that the fish hatchery was closed before the flood. No, the fish hatchery was destroyed because of the flood. The city of Crawford and the Nebraska state had already saved the fish hatchery. So I think that's one thing that you need to remember, if we could just keep adding to it down there. And Adam, I think if you look a little deeper, you will find there is an agreement out there with Fort Robinson for water for that fish hatchery.
The problem is, when fish entry went, some of those got closed. I'm not saying,
I
I'm just saying,
have not looked at that, but I know at one time
I
the water rights.
I hope it's great, it sounds like a great
But I'm
idea to
just
me.
telling you that, something I thought of, and I can't tell you the exact date or what the bill was, but.
After some recent things with water though, I just know how some of the downstream people are, that, especially in a dry year with appropriations being what they are.
But non-consumptive use,
It
it
should be, it should be
probably
fine.
is still there.
It should be fine.
And we don't pump out of the river to fill that.
I'm not trying to, I think
I
this is a
believe
great
in
idea,
water.
I just wanna
I
make sure
believe
we have
that
the ducks in a
It's
row.
piping coming all the way from Fort Robinson that's still in place today that.
But to keep you
brings
right,
that
you
water.
gotta pump out of the river.
And I do.
Yeah, I know you do.
Nine had a comment.
Oh.
I was just gonna say, I was out forth the other day and I happened to overhear a couple of different groups of people kept asking for more places to fish. And if it was something that could open up to more than just 14-year-olds, you know, I bet they'd come in.
Yeah, so from game and park standpoint, our statutes, or I shouldn't say statute, our rule is anybody can fish. What they have suggested to the cities is that, only kids under 14 can keep them. That way, if you wanna, adults wanna come with their kids and fish, they're welcome to and have a great time, and, but we ask adults to turn the fish loose, and the kids can keep.
Brian, I certainly understand your hesitation. I mean, we've had a rough go the last 4 years, and we've been really cautious with these Keno funds, and there was, I know when I first got on, it really felt like we were really easy to give them out there for a while, and that felt, and I don't know that it's a problem to share those funds as they seem necessary, but I think they got a little loosey-goosey for a while, where they were running pretty fast. But, where this is something that is not some specific group or not 3 individuals, but this is something that this money could really impact our community as a whole. And beyond that, with the visitors, I guess that's the perspective that I would ask you to consider at this time, or maybe help you consider at this time, that yes, it might be a chunk of these funds, but it's a chunk of these funds in the way that, it's not 3 kids going on a trip or 1 rodeo, specialty event that only maybe pertains to a certain small amount. This is something that would impact.
Well, I go back to what
That's
Kevin
on a
said,
larger
also,
scale.
how do you put monetary value on it?
Sure.
I mean, how do you get, so if we're gonna do this, then I propose that we start putting pads in there more, or camping spots in there, so we can start having a way
That's what
of paying for more money coming in. If you're gonna do this, then let's,
But this might
I mean, we
be.
gotta start.
Correct. This is the opportunity to get assistance, to get a leg up, and with maybe attracting more people to the area, it will encourage more people to be down there, and with the demand being higher, it will help us pay for those additional spots.
And I would
sometimes
also
you have
throw
to
out,
put-
Game and Parks, has some influence on that as
Sure.
well, in terms of federal money and grants. So again, oil and gas companies pay a pretty heavy tax across the country, and a lot of that money comes back into a program called Waters and Trails. And Game and Parks administrates that program across the state. So, I would encourage, and would help, to have those grants be written and, hopefully with the park in mind, and camping pads and whatever else could be dreamt
That
up.
sounds great, Doug. I'm thoroughly excited to hear you say that, and with all these witnesses hold you to it.
That's
short time.
Appreciate that.
That is good, you nailed it, because a lot of those funds don't come this far west.
They
We've got all these federal grounds,
That
and
means
we
a lot.
don't get any tax revenue or any benefit other than beautification of it, and bringing stuff. So for us, we don't get, see a lot of tax revenue. It surprised me when I found out that we get, $240,000 from the state, and other communities that are getting state tax money, or land taxes, are getting upwards of $600,000, same size community. We're getting hit hard. So, where we put our money matters. And I don't mind this, I don't think it's a bad idea. I know it's not a bad idea, because I was one of those ones that was wanting to along with Larry to upgrade that when we had the funds. What they're asking for now is a lot more than what we had. We have the money. Do we have to have a minimum amount held in that, in the Keno?
We're not close to what that would be if we did. I mean, it would be fairly
If you,
small.
Okay.
if you look
Well-
at the page, you can see the August receipts.
I don't have that, so I don't.
Oh, sure, it's in your packet, so I can show you
I don't
really
have
simply.
that.
But as Chris mentioned, August receipts were, and I'll share that with the audience,
That's-
August receipts were $7,034.05, which is encouraging.
So
We
that's-
haven't seen Keno move in that direction for quite a long time. But if that means that
So
we're
thanks for
generating
gambling.
that, then those would be funds that would be recouped within, even if you were generous 3 months' time. So this would be, money spent that could easily be recouped soon, so that we
A
can
long time.
move
Keno.
on and come up with our matching funds for when Doug helps us with these pads, so.
For a long
And if
time,
you wanna
Keno
talk-
was going down.
Right,
I mean,
correct.
it was not.
Correct, that is fair,
So,
yes.
When we were doing it, what was there, 70,000 in it? Do you remember? It was not very
I don't
much.
think it was ever that low.
It
was not very much. So, I'm okay with it. I don't have a problem with it. I guess I want to be
Sure.
frugal.
Mindful.
I really do, and I do. And there are other projects that this could go to, that need to be done. So,
Would you
I'm
like
good with
to
that.
make a second, or would you
Yeah,
like
I'll
to change the
second it.
motion? You'll second?
I'll second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Dean, And for 9,000, correct?
Correct.
9,000. And a second by Fromm. Roll call, please. Dean?
Yes.
Fromm?
Yes.
Gaskin. Thank you very much.
Number 17, discuss approve, disapprove the homecoming parade route on Friday, September 11th. Boy, we are gonna be busy that week. 2026. This appears to be the classic route that the school has taken for the last few years. It does not appear that there is any changes. I don't know that we have anybody representing the school here this evening.
My question is, with the wall being here,
Right.
First Street is gonna be a disaster for a parade to go down.
Exactly.
And that is,
They always wanna go down
Yeah,
by the
but they
nursing
go down
home.
and past
they
the
go
nursing
through the
home.
nursing home.
And that's, there's gonna be cars parked everywhere, or that's,
Well, but if they can't get through
but
it,
they
it
can't
doesn't
get
matter.
through, that's what I'm saying.
But-
They're blocking off the whole one side. And then they're talking about blocking the whole street.
But the community center, the community building is here and they're coming down Coates, going past the building.
Yeah, but
Well, we're blocking off.
but this is all gonna be, I mean, they're gonna be all the way down to the park and all of that.
That's all gonna be blocked.
Yeah,
off.
it might just, they might need to just do
See, I
from
thought,
Second Street completely over to Coates and be done.
I thought that, that road closure that Roger was talking about was just the day when the wall shows
arrival.
up.
Correct, we're not closing the road, but it's going to be very busy and full of parked cars that entire week, or we look forward to it being
We don't
that. And it's gonna be parking from all the way down at the park, all the way through First Street, all the way through the community building for all of the handicap, all of the balloon building area, and so I just, it's going to be busy enough, whether it's full or not, moving or not, I just don't know that it's worth approving something that dips down into that area while we have that going on
Well,
at the
they
same
could
time.
come down Second to Paddock, and then you just go down and go to the nursing home parking lot. come out
That's
that
similar
back.
to what they have, but it,
I know,
again,
but
it's
for
gonna
this
be
year,
so
maybe they
congested to cover that.
Maybe they could change it for 1 year.
Another concern is, I think September the 11th is the first big house sale. And not only are we worried about, First Street going on with, the activity of the wall, we're very worried about all the semis coming down that on First Street.
Has the Crawford Serving Humanities reached out to the sale barn to ask about what they could use for preferred routes, so that way they're not overlapping?
We have, but, there is no answer. Because they have no other alternative except to go down Second Street.
Which is, if you guys stayed on First Street and they stayed on Second Street, that shouldn't be a problem.
Or they could go down Main.
Correct.
I mean,
I just didn't know if you'd reached out.
Not all trailers can underneath that bridge.
Right, so Second Street would be
Well, we
necessary.
got Travis here, why don't we ask his opinion?
My opinion, unofficially, is we talk to the livestock market and get a good route going for them. Also, talk to the buyer for the railroad and see about using their private road from Third Street, connecting that route also. Used to do it before, I don't understand what the communication breakdown was.
It was the speeding in that area.
Okay. So, because that is a private road, I can't enforce a speed limit there. However, given the reputation of the sale barn and the truck drivers that are bringing money in and out of that building, maybe they could have a reasonable conversation with their drivers to be mindful of their speed as they're coming in, because we're only asking for a special use issue here for that day, correct? So if we're looking at alternative routes, that's one way to go.
Well, we don't have time to not have, to discuss this with them, and no one showed up, and to not approve it tonight is the problem
I
with
just think we
this.
should send it down Second Street, just.
I just, yeah, just leave cut Second Street.
Yeah.
I was
I
thinking the
don't
same.
want, don't need kids getting hurt or.
No. Well, and with that being a sale day too, that's already gonna be a nightmare.
Yeah.
You're not only gonna have all the cars, so you're gonna have
They
a
all need
people
a
walking.
walk.
Yeah.
Right,
To close
right.
the door.
You don't need
You
much
got,
traffic.
got little kids, right?
They just
So
stop the dip to
I
the,
move
they
to
just,
approve it.
Come down coast to second.
To second, and then go over.
goes to second.
Okay. Oh, that's American. Yeah, just come to Second Street, so we'll come down to Second Street, and then everything else will be approved.
Okay, do I have a motion for that changed approval
I'll make that motion.
from, and do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Gaston, roll call please.
Can you restate that?
Okay, good.
They will leave on, I think they come down Sixth Street, or that's when they come back, so they'll leave on Fifth Street to come down Coates, they'll hit Second, and they'll go north on Second, all the way till Main, and on Main, they'll come back on Third, and Third to Ann and back up to the school using Sixth. So it will remove all of what the dip down through the Villa and First and cut off all that this whole